So what I wanted to accomplish with this breakout room is just to share a little bit about how I got to where I am today, because I was probably in the spot that a lot of you guys are not so long ago. So as Melissa mentioned, I finished my studies about 3 years ago, and within that time, I've actually moved around quite a bit. So I just wanted to take you through quickly how I got to where I am. So I went to university in the UK, and then decided that I liked that. It was fun, but I kind of want to also try living somewhere else. So what I did is I actually did a study abroad program, which took me to Hong Kong. And I had an amazing 6 months there where I got to not only immerse myself in the Hong Kong culture, but also got to travel. So that was quite fun for me. So after my stint in Hong Kong, I came back to the UK, but still quite eager, decided that I wanted to take the opportunity to take a placement year, which is part of the degree I was doing in business, which allows you to work for a full year at a company. And what I did is actually I worked at Oracle, which is a huge IT company. They are primarily focused on business to business operations. So most people don't really know about them unless you're within the industry or within the working world. And that was a huge step for me. I absolutely loved it. And I think I would highly recommend anyone to take that opportunity if you get it, because having the option to work at a company as a placement student, you've always got a bit of an excuse to use your intern label to your advantage, because you can essentially ask for whatever you want, and people are so eager to give you a positive experience that they'll probably give it to you. So what that meant for me was that I was able to join one of the really cool initiatives that Oracle had started around Internet of Things, which was demoing how they were using Internet of Things for Oracle and how they can use for their clients. And I got to go around the UK and actually also got to travel to the Netherlands and to Ireland to showcase the capabilities that Oracle has using IoT. So that was amazing, which was something that I actually knew nothing about. And by the end, I was able to stand up in front of a group of 50-year-old men and talk about it for 20 minutes. So, and then once that came to a conclusion, I went back to university for my final year, and then eventually moved down to London, where I wanted to try my hand at working in a startup and see what that environment was like compared to working in a big organization. So I started at a fairly small marketing agency. We were only about 10 people. And that's how I started getting into marketing, as opposed to focusing only on Oracle and like technology. But I've managed to somehow find links between those two, which does sound unusual, but what you come to find is that you'll find tech and data in anything you do. And the more you're able to read that data, the more it comes to your advantage. So that's what I started saying previously about how I use data every single day. There's always at least one Excel tab open on my browser. And to me, it's like creating a story from all the different data points. So that's a really quick summary of how I got here. And with that, I'll pass over to my mother.
Thank you, Nephele.
Thank you, Nephele. I would focus, because I have a lot more years to cover, so I don't want to take hours. So I'll focus on two parts of my career, let's say the beginning and where am I now. So I started off, actually, I said that I studied political science and international relations. and my dream job became a reality, and I actually started working at the United Nations, and my first post was in Burundi in Africa. So this was an experience that I had quite at a young age, and it was fantastic in terms of discovering a new continent, a new world, a new the work, of course, that was extremely interesting. The whole different the diversity of people working at the UN, because you have people from all over the world. And also, of course, the problems that were existing in the country, the economic issues, the social health, all the other issues that we were there to help with, and then eventually even political. There was a coup d'état, so there were a lot of things happening even the time I was there. But overall, the time that I spent at the UN, also later on in New York and dealing with other countries in Africa, were a fantastic experience in terms of understanding, where the world can come together, and how important the role of the UN has been all these years in trying to keep peace, in trying to solve global problems by bringing countries together. So from the UN, I came back to Europe more for personal reasons, and my daughter Nephele was 1 year old at the time when we moved to Europe, and I ended up working for another international organization, because again, I guess this attracts me, working together to solve problems. I think this is I guess the constant thing I've been doing. And in the European Union, where I'm now working, we have been bringing together the nations of Europe to also to overcome the wars that brought about the European Union. That was one of the reasons the European Union was created. And over this time, there was closer and closer cooperation in many areas. And now when we look at issues like climate change and what we do, for instance, in terms of the pandemic, and how do we deal with the coronavirus in Europe, so much hinges on countries working together and having all these channels that we create to work together effectively and to come together to solve problems, that I could not imagine a world without those international organizations and without the work we do. And of course, there's always things that we could do better, but I try to look at the things from a positive side and appreciate all the good work that's happening.
Oh, thank you, Tina. It was great. Marianne, do you have any questions? I'm sure that you are in the right breakout room, just for I know Marianne a bit, so I know what she's interested in. So Marianne, feel free to ask questions, or because you ask some questions later, maybe you want to keep them. So you tell me, and I have a few too, so you do as you want.
Yeah, I do. I will ask a few more questions later, but I guess one that just popped to my mind is because Nephele, you were mentioning how you were presenting to a room of like only middle-aged men, which kind of so it kind of made me think about whether both of you have encountered difficulties in your field, talking about inclusion and diversity as women, and how did you overcome that? And maybe, I don't know if you two already had this conversation before, but do you feel like there's a difference between when you started working, Tina, and when you started working, Nephele?
Yeah, I mean, I can start. I obviously don't know how it compares to when my mom was, but for me, especially working in an extremely male-dominated environment such as Oracle, I was mainly on the sales team as well, which meant that I was in a team of, I think, 12, and I was the only girl, and I was an intern, so I was significantly younger than all of them. And what I would say with that is that it's crazy how quickly you adapt to situations. And for me, I think I am quite adaptable person, so I'm quite good at trying to understand what people are like and seeing how I can make myself like communicate with them. So by a couple of weeks in, I was already like finding myself asking them about like their children and that sort of thing. And I mean, in that sense, it's funny how quickly you can build that sort of personal rapport with them. But I mean, there's always going to be kind of those situations where of course, I've experienced times where I've said something and I was questioned, whereas if a male counterpart had said that, they definitely wouldn't have had that reaction. Yeah, I mean, Tina, how do you think it is different now than to when you were my age?
It's different. So, Marianne, one of my experiences, and I can't say that I've had many bad experiences, but one of my experiences when I was freshly arrived in Burundi, and I was sent to a meeting with the ministerial committee to speak about the projects and what we were doing there, and I entered inside the room and the conference room, and there were all these much older people, and the minister turns around, he says, "Why does the UN send the secretary here?" And I was like, "I'm not the secretary, I'm the new policy officer." And they looked at me like I was, you know, extraterrestrial. But I sat there and I did what I have to do, and after that nobody ever questioned me again in that context. But now looking back at it, things have changed a lot, and nobody would question that in an obvious way, but there's so many other subtle ways. And because I'm a manager and I deal with a lot of different kinds of people, and I recruit people, and I also see how people sell themselves, market themselves for recruitment. I've seen so many differences between men and women when they come and they want a position. And there was one position I was recruiting for, and I had two men come and say, "Oh, that job description, that was written for me. It's exactly my profile. I'm perfect for that." And I was, "Really?" And then the woman who came and interviewed said, "Well, I have some parts of this, but not maybe as much that you would like in the other parts." So I realized that so many women, so many times women undercut themselves, even now, you know? So for me, this shows that there's still a lot of things that we can do to make women more confident, more assertive, and to speak up for themselves. And this is what my advice would be if you were to ask me.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you.
That's a great answer. Thank you.